Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein's accomplice serving 20 years in prison for sex trafficking minors, is testifying before Congress today. She's appearing virtually from her Texas prison cell to face questions from the House Oversight Committee about Epstein's crimes and government cover-ups. She's expected to plead the Fifth and refuse to answer anything. This comes after Bill and Hillary Clinton agreed to testify just days before they were going to be held in contempt of Congress. Chairman James Comer has been investigating how the government let Epstein operate for decades. Stay with me because this congressional probe could expose the most powerful people in America who knew about Epstein's crimes and did nothing. What's up, everyone? Marcus Reed here with Senate Decoded, where I break down investigations into elite corruption and government cover-ups. Real quick, if you want coverage of the Epstein scandal, congressional investigations into how powerful people enabled a pedophile for decades, and stories about Maxwell and the Clintons finally being forced to testify, hit that subscribe button right now. This Epstein probe is about to get explosive. All right, here's what's happening. At 10 a.m. Eastern today, Monday, February 9th, Ghislaine Maxwell will appear virtually before the House Oversight Committee from her prison in Texas. She's expected to plead the Fifth Amendment and refuse to answer any questions. This is part of Chairman James Comer's investigation into how the federal government handled Jeffrey Epstein's case for years. Just days ago, Bill and Hillary Clinton agreed to testify to avoid being held in contempt of Congress. The Department of Justice released millions of Epstein documents in December after Trump signed the Epstein Files Transparency Act. I'm breaking down who Ghislaine Maxwell is and what she did, what Congress is investigating, why she'll plead the Fifth, what the Clintons agreed to, what's in the Epstein documents, and whether anyone powerful will actually be held accountable. Let's get into it. Let's start with who Ghislaine Maxwell is, because understanding her role is critical to understanding Epstein's entire operation. Maxwell's background. Ghislaine Maxwell, now 62 years old, is the daughter of Robert Maxwell, a disgraced British media tycoon who died mysteriously in 1991, fell off his yacht, ruled either accident or suicide, many suspect murder. She's a former British socialite who was part of the ultra-wealthy elite social circles in New York, London, and Palm Beach. Her connection to Epstein. Maxwell met Jeffrey Epstein in the early 1990s after her father's death. They became romantic partners, initially business partners, co-conspirators in sex trafficking, what she did. According to the Department of Justice and trial evidence, Maxwell, 1. Recruited victims, identified vulnerable young girls, often from troubled backgrounds, poor families, broken homes. Targeted girls as young as 14 years old, approached them at malls, schools, parks, promised them modeling opportunities, education assistance, money. 2. Groomed victims, built trust with the girls, presented herself as a safe maternal figure, normalized sexual discussions and behavior, gradually desensitized them to abuse. 3. Facilitated abuse, brought girls to Epstein's properties, New York mansion, Palm Beach estate, private island, New Mexico ranch, scheduled massages that were actually sexual abuse. Sometimes participated in the abuse herself. Arranged travel for victims. 4. Enabled the operation, managed Epstein's properties and staff, coordinated logistics of the trafficking operation, paid off victims with money, gifts, travel, threatened and intimidated victims who wanted to leave the scope. Maxwell's trafficking operation involved dozens of confirmed victims, likely many more unreported, multiple properties across the U.S. and internationally, years of abuse, 1990s through early 2000s at minimum, wealthy and powerful men who were Epstein's clients. Her conviction. In December 2021, Maxwell was found guilty of conspiracy to entice minors to travel to engage in illegal sex acts, conspiracy to transport minors with intent to engage in criminal sexual activity, transporting a minor with intent to engage in criminal sexual activity, sex trafficking of a minor, sex trafficking conspiracy. Her sentence, June 2022. Maxwell was sentenced to 20 years in federal prison. She's currently serving her sentence at FMC Carswell, a federal prison in Fort Worth, Texas. She filed appeals, including to the Supreme Court, claiming she didn't get a fair trial, jurors were biased, evidence was improperly admitted. The Supreme Court rejected her appeal in October 2025. So she's running out of legal options. What she knows. Maxwell is perhaps the only person left alive who knows the full extent of Epstein's operation, which powerful men were clients, how the operation was financed, whether intelligence agencies were involved, how Epstein avoided serious prosecution for so long, who helped cover it up. Jeffrey Epstein died in August 2019 while awaiting trial in a New York City jail. Official ruling: suicide by hanging. But many questions remain. How did he have the opportunity to kill himself despite being on suicide watch? Why were cameras not working? Why were guards asleep? Was it actually murder made to look like suicide? With Epstein dead, Maxwell is the key to unlocking the entire scandal. That's why Congress wants her testimony. Why she'll plead the Fifth, Maxwell will almost certainly invoke her Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination for every question. Why? Criminal jeopardy. Even though she's convicted, she could face additional charges if she admits to other crimes. Appeals? She has appeals pending. Any statement could hurt those civil lawsuits. Victims are suing her. Admissions could cost her money. Protecting others. If she names powerful people, she could face retaliation or worse, self-preservation. She's in prison for 20 years. Talking could make her situation worse. So today's testimony will likely be, Comer. Did you traffic minor girls to Bill Clinton? Maxwell. I invoke my Fifth Amendment right. Comer. Did Jeffrey Epstein have blackmail tapes of powerful men? Maxwell. I invoke my Fifth Amendment right. And so on. But even her refusal to answer is politically valuable for Congress because it makes her look guilty and keeps the scandal in the news. Now let's talk about what the House Oversight Committee is actually investigating, because this goes beyond just Maxwell and Epstein. Chairman James Comer's Epstein probe, House Oversight Committee. Chairman James Comer, R. Kentucky, launched this investigation to examine. Epstein was first investigated in 2005 for sexually abusing minors in Palm Beach, Florida. Local police built a strong case. Federal prosecutors, led by Alexandra Acosta, took over 2008. Epstein got a secret sweetheart plea deal, pleaded guilty to just 2 state prostitution charges, not federal sex trafficking, served only 13 months in county jail, not federal prison, was allowed work release 6 days a week, basically wasn't imprisoned, deal granted immunity to any potential co-conspirators, protecting Maxwell and clients. This deal was outrageous and potentially illegal. Epstein had connections to former President Bill Clinton, flew on Epstein's private jet, Lolita Express, dozens of times. Former President Donald Trump was friends with Epstein in the 1990s, 2000s, later banned him from Mar-a-Lago. Prince Andrew, accused by Virginia Giuffre of having sex with her when she was 17, settled lawsuit for millions. Billionaire Leslie Wexner, Victoria's Secret owner, gave Epstein power of attorney over his finances. Numerous other politicians, businessmen, academics, celebrities questions Congress is asking, why did the FBI not prosecute Epstein federally in 2008? Did someone powerful intervene to protect him? Were intelligence agencies using Epstein for blackmail operations? Did prosecutors hide evidence? Were victims intimidated into silence? The DOJ released millions of pages of Epstein documents in December 2025 after Trump signed the Epstein Files Transparency Act. What those documents revealed: flight logs showing who traveled on Epstein's planes, emails between Epstein and associates, photos from his properties, names of victims, financial records, communications with government officials. Congress wants to know what else is being hidden. The Clintons' role. Bill Clinton has admitted to flying on Epstein's plane, but claims he didn't know about Epstein's crimes. Trips were for Clinton Foundation work. He was never on Epstein's island. He cut ties when he learned about allegations. But evidence shows Clinton flew on Epstein's jet at least 26 documented times. Some flights did not have Secret Service present, unusual for ex-presidents. Flight logs showed trips to Africa, Asia, Europe with Epstein. Clinton was photographed with Epstein and Maxwell multiple times. Comer wants to question Clinton under oath about what he knew about Epstein's activities, whether he witnessed any abuse, whether he participated in any abuse, why he continued associating with Epstein after allegations surfaced Hillary Clinton's role. Hillary's connection is less direct, but she knew Epstein socially through Bill Epstein, and Maxwell attended Chelsea Clinton's wedding in 2010 after Epstein's 2008 conviction. Epstein donated to Clinton Foundation. Some victims claim Maxwell bragged about friendship with Clintons. Comer wants to question Hillary about what she knew about Epstein, why Maxwell was invited to Chelsea's wedding after Epstein's conviction, whether Clinton Foundation accepted tainted money, the contempt threat. Comer issued subpoenas to both Clintons. Initially, they refused to appear, citing executive privilege for Bill, spousal privilege, Fifth Amendment, partisan witch hunt. Comer scheduled a contempt vote for the full House to refer the Clintons to DOJ for criminal charges. Just days before the vote, the Clintons' attorneys agreed they would testify in person. This averted the contempt vote, but guaranteed their testimony. Other witnesses, beyond Maxwell and the Clintons, Comer is also seeking testimony from FBI officials who handled or mishandled Epstein case, federal prosecutors involved in 2008, plea deal victims willing to testify, Epstein's pilots, staff, associates, anyone with knowledge of the operation. The goal, Comer says the goal is to expose government failures, hold officials accountable, get justice for victims, ensure this never happens again, release all information to the public. Skeptics say the real goal is political damage to Democrats, especially Clintons, distraction from Trump administration scandals, red meat for MAGA base, not actually about justice for victims. My take, I think it's both. Comer genuinely wants to expose wrongdoing, but he's also not above using this for political advantage. Regardless of motives, if the investigation exposes truth and gets justice for victims, that's good. Now let's talk about the Epstein documents that were just released because they contain shocking revelations. The Epstein Files Transparency Act. In November 2025, President Trump signed into law the Epstein Files Transparency Act. This bipartisan bill required the Department of Justice to release all documents related to Epstein's crimes, FBI investigation files, flight logs, emails and communications, photos and videos, non-explicit witness statements, financial records. On December 19, 2025, DOJ released approximately 3 million pages of documents. What was revealed? 1. Flight logs. Detailed records of who flew on Epstein's private jets, nicknamed Lolita Express. Names included Bill Clinton, 26-plus flights, Prince Andrew Alan Dershowitz, Epstein's lawyer, numerous businessmen, academics, celebrities. Key detail, some flights listed minors on passenger manifests. 2. The Black Book. Epstein's personal contact book with over 1,000 names, heads of state celebrities, business titans, scientists, royalty. Being in the Black Book doesn't mean someone did anything illegal, but it shows Epstein's network. 3. Victim testimonies. Depositions and statements from victims describing how Maxwell recruited them, the abuse they suffered, powerful men they were forced to have sex with, threats and intimidation they faced. 4. Photos. Thousands of photos from Epstein's properties showing Epstein with famous people, Maxwell with victims inside his mansions, bizarre art, strange room layouts, his private island 5, emails, communications revealing Epstein coordinating massages, code for abuse, Maxwell arranging travel for girls, discussions of payments to victims, attempts to intimidate witnesses. 6. Financial records, evidence of large wire transfers to young women, payments from wealthy men to Epstein offshore accounts, suspicious transactions. 7. The 2008 plea deal documents, internal DOJ emails showing prosecutors knew they had a strong case. Decision to give sweetheart deal was unusual. Victims were not consulted, violating law, pressure from above to go easy on Epstein, what we still don't have. Despite the massive document dump, key evidence is still missing. Videos from Epstein's properties, he allegedly recorded abuse for blackmail, full client list, who paid Epstein for access to girls, intelligence agency files, if CIA Mossad were involved, certain communications, some emails are redacted. The blackmail theory, many believe Epstein was running a blackmail operation. The theory, Epstein would provide wealthy, powerful men with underage girls, secretly record the encounters, use the videos to blackmail them for money, favors, intelligence. Possibly working with intelligence agencies, CIA or Mossad. Evidence for this theory. Epstein had extensive video equipment in all his properties. Multiple victims say they were recorded. Epstein had mysterious wealth, no clear source of billions. He had connections to intelligence community. The sweetheart plea deal suggests he had leverage evidence against. No videos have been found or released. Could just be paranoid conspiracy theory. Maybe he was just a pedophile, not a spy. The intelligence connection. Epstein had connections to Les Wexner, wealthy businessman with intelligence ties, Ghislaine Maxwell's father, Robert Maxwell, suspected Mossad agent, various government officials. Some speculate Epstein was a Mossad asset using sexual blackmail to compromise American politicians. No proof of this has emerged, but it remains a theory. Why this matters. If Epstein was running a blackmail operation, powerful people could still be compromised. Foreign governments might have leverage over U.S. officials. National security is at risk. Justice has not been served. That's why Congress is investigating. Let's talk about what happens next with the Maxwell testimony, Clinton testimony, and ongoing investigation. Maxwell's testimony today. What to expect. Virtual appearance from Texas prison at 10 a.m. ET behind closed doors. Not public. Likely very brief. She'll plead the fifth to every question. Committee may release transcript later. Questions they'll ask. Did you traffic minors to Bill Clinton? Did you traffic minors to Prince Andrew? Did you traffic minors to Donald Trump? Did Jeffrey Epstein record sexual encounters? Where are those recordings? Who else was involved in the operation? Did intelligence agencies know about or enable the operation? Who helped cover up Epstein's crimes? Maxwell's expected answer to all, I invoke my Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. Even though Maxwell will plead the fifth, the hearing serves purposes. 1. Political theater keeps Epstein's scandal in news. 2. Pressure shows Maxwell she's not forgotten. 3. Public record. Her refusal to answer is on the record. 4. Foundation sets stage for further investigation. The Clintons' upcoming testimony. Bill and Hillary Clinton have agreed to testify in person. No date has been announced yet, but likely within weeks. What to expect? Bill Clinton will likely admit he flew on Epstein's plane, claim he didn't know about crimes, say all trips were for legitimate Clinton Foundation work, deny ever witnessing or participating in abuse, claim he cut ties when allegations surfaced Hillary Clinton will likely, claim minimal contact with Epstein, say she knew him only socially through Bill, explain that Maxwell at Chelsea's wedding was not her decision, deny any knowledge of criminal activity, probably not. Unlike Maxwell, who's convicted and still facing legal jeopardy, the Clintons likely believe they can testify without incriminating themselves. Pleading the fifth would look guilty and be politically devastating, but they'll be extremely careful in their answers, likely saying, "I don't recall" a lot. Can Congress compel honest testimony? Congress can ask questions under oath, but perjury is hard to prove. Need evidence they knowingly lied? "I don't recall" is not perjury. Executive privilege might shield some Bill Clinton testimony. Spousal privilege might shield some conversations, so they can probably avoid answering the most damaging questions without committing perjury. What about Trump? Donald Trump also had connections to Epstein. They were friends in the 1990s, 2000s, but Trump claims he banned Epstein from Mar-a-Lago in early 2000s. Trump has said Epstein likes them young. No evidence has emerged of Trump on Epstein's island or planes. Unlike Clinton, Comer, a Republican, is unlikely to subpoena Trump. If Democrats controlled the committee, they definitely would. Potential outcomes: best case scenario, Maxwell provides some information, unlikely. Clintons provide honest testimony. More documents are released. Accomplices are identified and prosecuted. Victims get some measure of justice. Worst case scenario, Maxwell pleads fifth to everything Clintons claim they don't recall anything useful. Investigation becomes partisan circus. No one is held accountable. Victims are re-traumatized for nothing. Most likely scenario, some new information emerges. No major bombshells. Democrats and Republicans fight about meaning. No powerful people are prosecuted. Investigation fizzles out after generating headlines, the victim perspective. For the dozens or hundreds of women who were abused by Epstein and Maxwell, they want truth to come out. Powerful people held accountable. Public acknowledgement of what happened. Compensation for trauma, assurance it won't happen again. They fear being re-traumatized by testifying. Not being believed. Powerful people escaping justice. Their suffering being used for political points. We need to center their needs, not political agendas. My analysis: this investigation will generate headlines and put pressure on powerful people, but I'm skeptical anyone truly powerful will face consequences. History shows Epstein got away with it for decades. He only faced justice when he died in suspicious circumstances. Maxwell is the only person convicted. No clients have been charged. The system protects the powerful. Unless there's a massive shift, this investigation will expose some truth, but probably won't result in major prosecutions. All right, let me bring this entire story together. Ghislaine Maxwell is testifying virtually before the House Oversight Committee today from her Texas prison, where she's serving 20 years for sex trafficking minors with Jeffrey Epstein. She's expected to plead the Fifth Amendment and refuse to answer questions about her crimes, Epstein's clients, and the government cover-up that protected them for decades. Here are the key takeaways. First, Maxwell was Epstein's accomplice who recruited, groomed, and trafficked dozens of underage girls to be sexually abused by wealthy and powerful men at properties across the world. Second, Chairman James Comer is investigating how Epstein avoided serious prosecution for so long, who knew about his crimes, whether the government covered it up, and who else should be held accountable. Third, Maxwell will almost certainly invoke her Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination for every question, making the hearing largely symbolic rather than substantive. Fourth, Bill and Hillary Clinton agreed to testify in person just days before they would have been held in contempt of Congress for refusing to appear under subpoena. Fifth, the Department of Justice released 3 million pages of Epstein documents in December, showing flight logs, victim testimony, photos, emails, and the outrageous 2008 plea deal. Sixth, the documents revealed Bill Clinton flew on Epstein's jet at least 26 times, and numerous powerful people had connections to Epstein, though being in his orbit doesn't prove wrongdoing. Seventh, key evidence is still missing, including alleged blackmail videos Epstein reportedly recorded and the full client list of who paid for access to underage girls. Eighth, despite the investigation, it's unlikely any powerful people beyond Maxwell will face criminal charges, continuing the pattern of the elite escaping justice while their victims suffer. Will Maxwell provide any useful information or just plead the Fifth? Will the Clintons be honest about their Epstein connections? Should Trump also be investigated for his friendship with Epstein? Will anyone powerful actually be held accountable? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want continued coverage of the Epstein scandal, congressional investigations, and whether justice will finally be served, hit that subscribe button. I'm Marcus Reed with Senate Decoded, demanding accountability for the powerful. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.